Ladies, gentlemen, and young ladies, be greeted wherever you are in this world. In the news international, the president of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin, has just signed a decree which makes tremble the West. The West is panicking. NATO is afraid and it's shaking. Ukraine, we don't talk about it not. President Vladimir Putin signed this decree for the greatest mobilization never before achieved in Russia since 2016, never done. When we talk about mobilization, the mobilization, it is about recruitment in the army. You know that on the Ukrainian side, when we talk about mobilization, it's forced. Yes, today, September 29th, 2025, we have seen images circulating again on internet where we can clearly see how we treat Ukrainian citizens as if they weren't human. We forced to join the army for the send into the lion's den from the side of Russia. So, this is not the case on the side of Russia. In Russia, it is the on the contrary. What's happening in Russia? We have two major periods for recruitment within the year. So this time it's the last step. Recruitment will take place from October 1st by December 31st, 2025. But usually the number of citizens who were recruited into the army, it did not reach this figure, and the figure is 135,000. So now Vladimir Putin signed on October 1st, on the 31st December 2025, 135,000 people will be recruited into the Russian army. Then here is the situation that is causing panic, NATO, and that's what we're talking about. We will talk about this video conference. But before we continue, I ask you to share the video conference at maximum. It must be shared in all possible groups. Put a lot of likes and don't forget to leave your different opinions in comment. So let's go into the depths. According to official information, it's a massive presidential decree. Vladimir Putin signed and ordered the conscription. He ordered the conscription of 135,000 young men for the period of the 1st October to December 31st. This is the biggest campaign of autumn recruitment since 2016. We had not failed to say it, so that this is evidence of increased preparation of Russia. Russia is preparing to maintain this conflict in the long term. Russia is not joke. For her, we must continue to reinforce the troops to facilitate the rotation of troops which are engaged on the Ukrainian side at the front. So rotational troops, if the Europeans said in particular, I want to recall Kadias's words, Callas, who is the head of diplomacy European. She clearly said that he don't expect the end of this conflict within a short time. The conflict will last even longer than we think, imagine it. That one does not think. It is necessary allow at least 2 years minimum. These are the words of the head of diplomacy of the European Union. And we also see the recent remarks held by Donald Trump when he says that obviously that with the support of the European Union, all the territories that Russia recovered in the hands of Ukraine can come back to Ukraine. And so we easily assume the importance of this decree for Vladimir Putin. We need to reinforce the troops, but the number is colossal. And you know that the total number of mobilizations that the Russia does this every year, it exceeds the number of soldiers combined of NATO according to the information that we have. Imagine that at the beginning of year, they proceeded with the recruitment of a number also a little more similar. 12,000, 27,000, which means that Russia will find with more than 260,000 or 270,000 new recruits just for the year 2025. There you go. And why all this? It's for this confrontation with Ukraine and NATO, because NATO is decided. So it must be said that the objective behind this decree is to maintain an army capable of holding in the long term without announcing a general mobilization. You know, in normal time, if Russia needs recruit a lot of people within of its army, Russia is forced to carry out what is called the general recruitment. But this is not a general recruitment, it's a conscription. And then just for a short time given, So this is a new Russian reform which allows to fill the military units Russians for the Russian army to continue to stand up. And so it must be said that the Duma of the Russian Federation, therefore the National Assembly Russian, has already presented a draft law to establish conscription perm. So if it's by period, it's periodic, as it is that the decree that Putin just took, they want that it is permanent at all times, therefore that we can recruit. If this bill passes, it is because once that would mean that we are attending directly to the militarization of the Russia. Russia is militarizing. With what intention? To hold out in the long term, in terms of the conflict. So, it must be said that the DUR Russian Tari, who presented the project of law for permanent conscription, allowing military officers to recruit all year round, with medical examinations and psychological assessments. And so it must be said that this decree really has a scope and repercussion strategic. What is its military impact and domestic politics in Russia? The conscripts, as we said, will serve as reinforcements in a moment for the rotation of troops on the forehead. But this decree is also a message internal policy. It is a way for Vladimir Putin to demonstrate that the state keeps the control and that it can power the front without resorting to measures unpopular like mobilization general in 2022. So in 2022, Russia proceeded to a general mobilization. Yes, it makes you scream. There you go. But this time, we recruit by period. And then there it is. It's not too much mandatory as such. So finally, here is what is happening and the reactions outside for Ukraine. This is a clear signal that Moscow is preparing a prolonged conflict. And that is very clear. But on the European side, it is a growing concern since this reform suggests that Russia is permanently militarizes, and permanent militarization of the Russia demonstrates sufficiently that Russia is not ready to make the path to peace. In all case, Russia has taken the path of opposite of peace and that Russia is ready. But on the side of the allies of the Russia, whether it is China, Iran, North Korea, the message is very clear. This is confirmation that the Russia is standing. Despite the sanctions, Russia adapts its military system. So here it is, ladies, young ladies and gentlemen, the headlines international. Please share it with maximum. I'll get back to you later by the grace of the Almighty with new news. So that was the voice of your humble servant, Robert.